going to talk about Aave, when to invest, but we're also going to do a mini tutorial on Binance on how to buy this asset if you so wish to. So hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you are new, subscribe, hit the bell button, leave a like, and obviously comment. Now, Aave has been talked about. I mentioned it recently on a live video actually. It looked very, very good as a potential dipping point, and it dipped over the last few days. So we're going to look at that when to invest sort of element in terms of a nice retracement of where it has been. Still $393. It was over 500 plus not too long ago, and it looks very, very good. But if you don't know what it is, very, very simple explanation. Basically, the DeFi king of Ethereum, essentially. Good liquidity pool, a lot of liquidity locked up. You can earn a good interest on this. I don't want to go too much into the detail of how to kind of use it. It's basically sync your wallet, deposit, you get passive income. It's pretty damn decent. One of the kingpins, essentially, of the Ethereum network. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's been around for a while now. It's had a great little move over the course of the rebrand and stuff. But we do need to talk more about the chart inside of it more than anything. But we're going to go on to Binance in a bit to show you essentially how to use it effectively and properly with, you know, equity essentially. A lot of people asking me how to use Binance, why I use it. And, you know, I think a lot of people get confused by it because it is quite, if you've only been used to the likes of Coinbase as an example, or you use another traditional systems like Robinhood or, I don't know, crazy places, right, which are very, very centralized, you know, Binance could be a little bit daunting essentially, but we'll go over that. And by the way, the link below, you get a 10% kickback. So whatever this link makes, you'll get a 10% kickback of random tokens. So it might be worth you jumping in that one. So let's look at chart first. This is the weekly time frame. It looks crazy, I know. Look at that retracement, but look at this. It's a bullish candle. It's looking good. But when we then start thinking, well, how does the market work? We have an impulse, we have a pullback. We have an impulse, we have a pullback. We were going to get a pullback regardless. So in the BTC pair, this looks doozy. Looks good. So I'm quite excited about the entire market with this pullback in terms of alt season potentially happening. The spillover, altcoins hitting low historic support levels with purpose. And the Ethereum chart looks the same. The, you know, every chart on the BTC pair looks tasty at the moment. This is why everything's quite nice and green. I still feel Bitcoin will retrace more, but it will hopefully spur on more altcoin runs in the BTC pairing. But what have we got here? This previous move, if we just look at the previous move before we do anything, we had a pullback into that level and we went boom. Off we go, my friend, right? But we want to look at the other one. We want to look at this obvious kind of, this hanging out bollock essentially that is just sitting there. And where we went to. Looking at that, it looks tasty. But we've got to look at elements of why this is important. Look at that. So that level of confluence there with the 618 is like with the previous level of structure from August 2018. The previous altcoin season, essentially. But when we start looking at what could happen next, well, if we're thinking logical kind of terms here, we might be looking now at a retest of the high, and maybe even higher to form yet again another higher high. So this is why I'm thinking Aave looks like a pretty solid option. When you look at the trajectory of the DeFi world, the liquidity locked up in the DeFi space, Aave's the king essentially. Apart from obviously Maker and all the other ones essentially compound, but Aave's like one of the kingpins. It's going to be the most obvious to pick. So when we start looking at levels here, we might be looking at this essentially in terms of a potential move up to the upside. Very, very nice level. It's a monster move. Let's be honest, it's a monster move, which will obviously pay dividends overall in the current price. And if we are looking, why is that favorite bar so annoying? That could be a 123% move in the BTC pricing. That could yield some very, very interesting gains overall. So that's one to look at. Obviously, Aave is looking pretty damn tasty right now, in my opinion. Right, simple. Looking at the USD pair again, we haven't got much data other than this, which is kind of annoying. But again, if we're looking at this level, we went right the way into the 50% mark. If I go onto the smaller time frame a little bit to kind of see this, that is what we've kind of got. We have pulled back quite significantly, and we have found a level of support around this 50%. Obviously, it depends on what happens with Bitcoin here and USD prices, but we may well be looking at this going to the upside, maybe $700+, maybe even higher in that case. But I don't want to go too much on the USD pair, especially if Bitcoin is looking to retrace. But if you're looking at the BTC side of it, there's definitely, in my opinion, room to grow some Satoshis there when you look at where that level is. But as I say, if Bitcoin does correct a little bit further and goes down maybe to 40k, which is totally possible in terms of Fibonacci levels and rulings, you know, you may well find that this might be quite steady, or depending on how aggressive that Bitcoin element moves. Because remember, Bitcoin is the pricing of these, not USD. Remember that. So let's talk about, obviously, Binance, right? A lot of people ask me questions about how to invest in assets like Aave. And the biggest, most obvious question is, you know, even if you're experienced in the space, a lot of people are a bit panicky about using exchanges because of security elements and obviously use case. The use case of how easy is it usable, what pairs can I use? And I always find Binance is probably the best, in my opinion. And I know if you're in America, you've got to use Binance.us, you're limited in supply. But at the end of the day, if you are looking for an asset to buy, and this is for everyone, if you're new to the space, go on to any asset, and go on to the lower levels here and literally go to all markets at the bottom, and you will see where you can buy it. So as you can see here, Aave, pick of the bunch essentially, you can go on anything, right? But personally, I always use Binance. It's like my go-to, it always has been. And I used to recommend Binance all over the place, but now they've got the new sharing reward thing. I thought, why not give it a go? You know, let people have a little bit of the share of the staking. So on the link below, you'll see a 10% kickback essentially on the referral. So check it out if you've not got an account. But how do you use it? It's very, very simple, right? The first level that you need to kind of do is obviously make an account, do all the KYC and stuff. But obviously you need to deposit. You can deposit with cash through the buy section here, or you can deposit via your wallets, right? If I go into my wallets here, you're going to see loads of tokens in here. You're not. Essentially, you just deposit as normal, put the correct address in, off you go. Same with withdrawals, the other side. That is very, very naughty. I don't really want to explain that. That's obvious kind of stuff in terms of that. But you can basically do pairings with pretty much anything on here, essentially. But the main thing you need to look at is go to the trade section and go to Classic. Classic is the old school version that I like the most. I don't really bother with the advanced version or the convert. The convert is easy in terms of USD to Bitcoin, for example, but it's a bit noddy, bit boring, bit pooey. But this is Classic. Classic stuff, right? I like this. And when you look at this is the default level. It has tutorials on here, but if you want to make it a bit better, personally, I like to use a trading view section so it looks a little bit more familiar. You can, if you want to, change this, but I personally, as you know, I use trading view. But when you start looking at this, all you need to worry about is spot. You're an investor, only invest. In terms of trading futures, I don't tend to use Binance futures. I tend to just use a spot. Goodness me, there's been that's a monster move, whatever's happened there. Anyways, when you look at all this, you've obviously got the element of this is the default setting, BTC. Do not get discouraged by what these 5x's mean. That just means that you can do a leverage marginal trade on it using the underlying asset. So it's not futures contracts. They'll give you a leverage for that, essentially. So just make sure you've always got it ticked on spot, essentially. So what do we want to do? We want to go to Aave. You can see Aave here, but the easiest way to do it, if you want to see what pairs you have, boom, just put in Aave. We've got BNB, we've got Ethereum, BUSD, obviously good stuff, right? We can buy with all that. All we need to then do is essentially buy it with whatever asset. Now I've got a little bit of Ethereum in my account, not much, you can probably see that. But in terms of how to do a buy order, you've got limit or market. Market order is like your lottery finger, your big fat finger. Market execution at any price, just bang, the closest price to it, the quickest liquidity you can ever get, hit the button, slam it, off you go, right? So essentially, if I wanted to buy, say, a small tiny amount there of essentially Aave, I can with the market execution. Bosh, I've just bought 0.04. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? If I wanted to buy at a certain pricing point, essentially, so let's just say at the Ethereum price of whatever this Ethereum, if you're charting in Ethereum, if I think, well, I can get a bit of a discount, I can wait a little bit and I can get it at the 22 level, maybe, who knows, and then I can just put in like a little buy order to buy it, whatever. It will make an order down here. You can see here, it's already on the chart here, it's telling us exactly where it is. And then you wait for it to hit, and once it hits, it'll do its magic, essentially, which is very, very straightforward. Obviously, go lower down, you can see your orders here. And you can obviously see your order history for this pair and stuff like that. So if you go to hide other pairs and you want to lose the construction of all this, you know, you can toggle it. So you can see some of my orders here, dollar cost averaging random little bits and bobs into my KSM at the moment. But at the end of the day, it's relatively straightforward to kind of see how this works. If you want to cancel it, press the cancel button. So that's it. If you then want to sell it and you want to sell it into Ethereum again, you go to the same pairing. So Ethereum, whatever, easy. But the easiest way to do this as well, go to your wallet, right? One thing to do, go to your wallet. And all you need to do is press on the trade button here, and then you'll see where it is. So obviously I haven't got Aave on here. If I actually untick the small balances, there we go, got random stuff all over the place, right? Obviously these are that's the entire wallet essentially. It's crazy. So when you go to Aave here, you go to trade, and then you can basically quickly go to the asset level you want to go to. So for me, go to that. It'll take you directly to the source, and then bosh. You know, if I wanted to go and press the sell button into Ethereum again, just do that, bosh. Market execution, boom. If you wanted to do it at current price, so say for example, if you bought at a certain point, so let's just say in USD, you wanted to sell it at like $500, you put a level in at $500 and you want to sell it. So there you go. That's essentially it. All the other customization points, obviously, your sell orders, buy orders, simple. How to do other things. So if you wanted to like find only USDC coins, they're all in here. So you're very, very limited on those ones. But if you wanted to go Tether, you pretty much got everything. Again, going down the list, you can see the market activity, what's the most expensive in terms of what's happened, in terms of speed, what's a market mover. And yeah, that's relatively it. If you want to put stop losses on, personally, I don't do stop losses because these are investments. I don't do stop losses on investments. I have trigger levels in my head that if it looks a bit shy, I'll get rid of it. The reason why is because most of my assets are not on Binance, or not on any exchange, are always on my ledger. You don't have a stop loss on a ledger. Yes, though, however, I will say this. On Ledger now, you can now transfer and trade on it. So you don't have to go to Binance. So if I wanted to, say, move Bitcoin into stable currency, I could do it on the Ledger. I don't have to go out, then back in. I can do it on the fees on there, which is very, very good using Changely. So that's essentially it. You know, not much to really go on. If you wanted to go on the advanced stuff, you can. You know, there is other elements of this. It's a bit different, as you can see here. Not the most obvious, but it's a bit neater and tidier. But for me, you don't really need it. The only difference is the elements is up here, and your order levels are obviously here. If you want to go into derivatives, obviously the futures and stuff are obviously in here. But personally, I don't really tend to bother with it that much. But again, if you wanted to withdraw this into like stable currency or into your bank, Binance is brilliant. It literally takes about 5 minutes to do it. You sell it into Great British Pounds for me, or if you're in Euro or whatever kind of currency you want to use. So all the different currencies here, as you can see, you kind of got a good choice here. And you basically just sell it into your native currency, then press withdraw and into your bank. It does take literally a couple of minutes. It's ridiculous. Like when I go back in time to where it used to be in the world of how fast things were, crazy. So there you go. That is essentially when to invest into Aave, essentially, in terms of price action. In terms of all this, just a refresher, it's looking pretty, oopsie, wrong one. It's looking pretty good as that support level. Definitely a good dollar cost average level. If this goes higher, this could be very, very interesting for the DeFi space when you look at the trajectory of that. But there you go. Nice, easy. How to use Binance as well. I've never really done a video on how to use Binance on my channel. So there, I hope that has helped you.